Chapter 91. You are listening at Novelful.audio. Nana, we're here. Nangong Yan announced, leading the girls into the pet shop. Hey there, Master Yan. Everyone's here, I see. Nana, the shop assistant, greeted them. Yuwu, the other assistant, nodded to the group, and Nangong Yan returned the greeting. Their little cat, Yang, hopped off Nangong Yan's shoulder and scampered over to Xiao Ba, another cat in the store. The two cats seemed to pick up right where they left off, playing and chatting. Yeah, the project's winding down, so I'm not as swamped. Thought I'd drop by and brought everyone along, Nangong Yan explained. Remember Sajari? You only saw her on the computer last time. Well, here she is. Nangong Yan said, nudging Sajari forward. Hi, Sajari mumbled. Well, hello. Nana smiled at her. After the quick introductions, Nangong Yan glanced around the shop, then turned back to the girls. Hey, I bet some of you are pet lovers, right? Why don't you take a look around? He suggested, gesturing towards the various animals. What about you? Eri asked. Nangong Yan shrugged. I do like cats, but nobody can compete with Yang. Besides, you guys are forgetting something. I can understand what cats are saying, so it's kinda weird to keep one as a pet. Not just Yang, though, right? You can understand all cats. Shiyu asked. Nangong Yan nodded. Man, I wish I could understand what my cat's thinking. Nana said wistfully. No wonder you weren't surprised when you found out. Like a real-life Dr. Dolittle, but for cats? Chihai asked, surprised. More like the cat whisperer. Nangong Yan made a face. Why does that sound so lame? Even so. Nangong Yan said, sounding a little helpless. The girls all nodded, understanding his point. So, anyone want to check out the pets? Honestly, I think having Yang is enough. She's the cutest. Eri declared, and Nanami and Mashiro immediately nodded in agreement. Finally, Shiyu summed it up. Yeah, I don't think the rest of us are super interested. I mean, even if we like cats, it really started after meeting Yang. Sweet, we can start a Yang fan club. Nangong Yan joked. Eri looked way too excited by the idea, like she was already planning the first meeting. Yikes, Nangong Yan thought, sweating a little. Okay, maybe later. Yang's definitely gonna be a star someday, star. Oh, hey, Nana, that scratching post I got is wearing out pretty fast. I'll grab a couple more, Nangong Yan said, remembering the state of their at-home post. Wow, already? It's only been 2 weeks, right? Nana was surprised. Must be because Yang's a pro. Nangong Yan thought. Yeah, she's been working out hard. Plus, a new neighbor moved in today, so she's gotta defend her territory. Nangong Yan said, shrugging it off. Alright, I'll get them ready for you. Just grab them on your way out. Wait, are you not charging me, star? Make sure to pick out the best ones for Yang. Don't skimp. Nangong Yan added pointedly. Nana blinked. I wasn't going to charge you, but now you're making me. Flame, how about we call it my gift to Hachi's little sister? Nana suggested, rolling her eyes. Nangong Yan's eyes widened. Okay, he conceded. A battle of wits over cat toys. Nana nodded, satisfied. It's just toys, what's the big deal? Shiyu smirked at him, amused that he'd caved so easily. Actually, Nangong Yan just didn't want to argue about it. First, he wasn't that invested. Second, he didn't want to flirt with Nana too much. She is a really beautiful woman. Why not if we can get closer? After saying goodbye to the siblings, Nangong Yan and the girls headed home. This time, Yang wasn't riding on anyone's shoulder. She was running and leaping in front of them, clearly happy. Meeting Xiao Ba really cheered Yang up. Nanami said, smiling at the playful cat. Everyone except Mashiro was smiling at Yang, even Megumi. Looks like Yang can get Hui to show a little more expression. Nangong Yan pointed out, drawing everyone's attention to her. Wow, you're right, she's smiling. Erori exclaimed. Yang's amazing. Like a little ball of sunshine, she always makes me feel better. Do you have to say it like that? I'm just a normal girl. Isn't it normal to smile? Megumi protested, *, are you really that average, *, everyone thought. Actually, it's not just me, right? Yang's changed all of us, Hui said, looking at the cat with genuine affection. I'm so lucky to have met her, Nangong Yan said, smiling and sighing softly. The girls had to agree. If Nangong Yan hadn't found Yang, and Yang wasn't in their lives, what a loss that would be. Huh? Why is she here? Nangong Yan asked, sounding surprised. They were almost home, and Nangong Yan had spotted someone familiar standing in front of his door. The others saw the girl too, and Chihai asked, who is that? Does everyone know her? That's Xiaomei, Kamino Megumi. She's Sajiri's classmate and class rep, Mashiro explained. If Nanami had come a day earlier, she would have met her, Kato Megumi added. Chihai nodded in understanding. A bit of a drama queen, Erori said, smirking. Nangong Yan turned to Sajiri. Sajiri, what do you think she wants? Sajiri scowled. Probably here to return the book and borrow the next one, after I accidentally tore out the best parts. Nangong Yan gave her a thumbs up. Nice. She's probably already inside. You two are evil. Erori complained. Nangong Yan quickly shook his head. Not me. Me neither. Sajiri insisted. Ah. Sajiri-chan. Big brother and sisters. Kamino Megumi spotted them and waved enthusiastically. Sajiri ducked behind Nangong Yan, and Kamino Megumi froze. Chapter 92. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why are you whispering? Megumi Kamino blurted out. Sajiri hissed, would you keep it down? You're embarrassing me. Megumi Kamino just stared. *Ugh*. I'm so sorry to mortify you. Hey, shall we, you here to model for Sajiri again? Nangong Yan asked with a grin. Megumi Kamino froze. Sajiri's eyes lit up like a Christmas tree, her gaze intense enough to make Megumi squirm. Their reaction made Nangong Yan and the other girls giggle. Nah, Megumi said, remember Sajiri-chan lent me, like, a ton of books. I'm just returning them, and maybe borrowing the next batch. Everyone was thinking the same thing. That's the real reason. Well, come on in, make yourself at home. Nangong Yan said. You can chat with Sajiri inside. Okay. Megumi Kamino agreed instantly, then glanced across at the house opposite. Say, is that place empty? Looks like nobody lives there. The moving van was long gone, so Megumi Kamino didn't realize a new resident had arrived that day. It was empty, Nangong Yan explained, for years, actually. But someone new moved in today. I'm kind of curious about them myself. Megumi Kamino clutched her chest, relieved. Oh, good. I thought it was haunted or something. I just saw a shadow flitting across the second-floor window. Haunted? Haunted? Nanami asked, her voice shaky. Huh. I don't think I've met you before. Megumi Kamino said, finally noticing Nanami. She shot Nangong Yan a knowing look. So, big brother adding to the harem again? Harem? Harem? Xiao Chihai's shyness flared up. Wait, is that what we are? But that's, like, bad, right? We're still in high school, but he was rambling again. The others just cringed. Only Mashiro seemed ready for another round. Nanami, you said it again. Seeing their faces and Megumi Kamino's mischievous grin, Nanami fled back to her house, face flaming. Nangong Yan playfully swatted Megumi Kamino on the head. Knock it off, you tease. Tone it down a little, okay? Nanami's too shy for your bombshells. Oops. Megumi Kamino tilted her head, batting her eyelashes. Nangong Yan sighed. Just, don't do it again. If you want to mess with someone, pick on me. I can handle you. Megumi Kamino stared blankly. Fine, I'm no match for you. Come on, Sajiri-chan, let's hit your room. Megumi Kamino grabbed Sajiri's hand, bypassed Nanami's door, and headed straight into Nangong's house. Shall we really need someone like you to keep her in check? Erori said, a smile playing on her lips as she recalled Megumi Kamino's antics. Nangong Yan shrugged. That's just her personality. She doesn't mean anything by it, but Nanami's not exactly equipped to deal with it. Let's go in, too. Hey, I was thinking of checking out the new neighbor across the street. You guys want to come? Nangong Yan asked. Sure, you frowned. Shouldn't they be the ones introducing themselves? Sure, you had a point. Usually, the new guy was the one who made the first move, but Nangong Yan enjoyed meeting people. It showed he was friendly and approachable. If the new neighbors needed anything, he was happy to help. It's been empty for so long, I'm just curious to see who'd move in there, Nangong Yan explained. They nodded, understanding. Megumi Kato chimed in. I think it'd be better if you went alone, Yen-kun. Nangong Yan raised his eyebrows, listening. You don't know anything about them. Are they a family? A single person? A family's fine, but if it's someone living alone, a whole crowd of us might seem overwhelming. That made sense. Nangong Yan nodded. Alright, I'll go do some recon. That with the girls watching, Nangong Yan headed outside. The second he stepped onto the opposite sidewalk, the sound of piano music drifted out. Nangong Yan was floored. Already finished unpacking? And they have time to play the piano. That was lightning fast. Maybe they're just taking a break, he muttered, realizing he was getting ahead of himself. Nangong Yan rang the doorbell, but there was no answer. The piano music continued. This is starting to feel like a horror movie, Nangong Yan grumbled. He rang again, but still nothing. Maybe the doorbell was broken. Might as well peek in and see what's up. Something felt off. He crept to the first floor window and peered inside. Nangong Yan was stunned. A naked blonde girl was playing the piano. Wait, was that Fairy Yamada? Nangong Yan had figured that with his mansion being so huge, there was no way he'd have another girl living next door. And yet, there she was. It's like the universe is forcing this to happen, Nangong Yan thought, feeling both overwhelmed and strangely thrilled. Was this another potential girlfriend? The big question was, did he say something? Looking at the dedicated look on her face, Nangong Yan decided it was better to say something. Who knew how long she'd be at it? And what would he say to the girls? Wasn't he a man, though? Should he just leave her be, looking at her body that the light did not allow to see? And wouldn't she get cold? So. Nangong Yan backtracked to the front door, cleared his throat, and called out, hello? Is anyone home? That got a reaction. The piano music stopped abruptly. Nangong Yan, with his sensitive hearing, caught the sound of frantic scrambling inside, and then a girl in a gothic Lolita dress appeared at the door. Who is it? She asked, looking annoyed. Nangong Yan pointed to his house. I'm Nangong Yan, from across the street. I noticed someone moved in today, so I came to say hi. And, is your doorbell broken, by the way? The girl glanced at the mansion across the street, surprised. That big house had to belong to someone rich, right? And he was making a point to welcome someone he didn't know. How would I know? I just moved in. I'll probably replace it later anyway. So it doesn't matter, she said dismissively. Nangong Yan raised an eyebrow. Did that mean she wasn't interested in being friendly? Chapter 93. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay, so to change things. Hey, you're Yamada Fairy, right? Huh? The goblin looked surprised, then puffed out her chest. Are you one of my fans, too? Nangong Yan's eye twitched. Yep, without knowing her, she's definitely annoying. Not exactly a fan, but I like your stuff. The goblin frowned, ready to retort, but Nangong Yan smoothly cut her off. And it's not just me. Eromanga-sensei and Kashiwagi Miles are fans too. He watched her reaction, a playful glint in his eye. Who did you say? Eromanga-sensei. She stared at Nangong Yan, disbelief etched on her face. Nangong Yan nodded, making it crystal clear. That's right, Eromanga-sensei. No way, that the goblin instantly pounced, grabbing Nangong Yan's hand. Where is Eromanga-sensei? Nangong Yan grinned. Can't tell you that. Eromanga-sensei likes to keep things on the down low. TCH. She dropped his hand. The goblin stepped back, suspicion clouding her features. Hold on, who are you? How do you know Eromanga-sensei? Wait a sec. Before Nangong Yan could answer, she stopped him. Did you just say Kashiwagi Miles? You heard right. This time, the goblin was genuinely floored. Who was this guy? He knew two of the biggest names in the industry. Wait. She bit her finger, racking her brain. Nangong Yan. Nangong. Something clicked. Something that had been all the buzz lately. Kashiwagi Miles, Nangong Yan. Don't tell me, you're actually Nangong-sensei. The goblin's eyes widened, startled by her own deduction. Well, put Kashiwagi Miles and my name together, and it's not exactly rocket science, is it? Nangong Yan didn't directly confirm it, but his answer was as good as an admission. Ugh. Seriously? The goblin gritted her teeth. Kashiwagi Miles sensei wasn't enough. Now Eromanga-sensei's in the mix too. Speaking of, why are you so obsessed with Eromanga-sensei? Humph. The goblin puffed out her chest again. Listen up. I have to get Eromanga-sensei to illustrate my next work. I'm completely obsessed with Eromanga-sensei's art. That legendary artist has to paint the world's most perfect nude for me. Combine that with my literary genius, and we'll have the ultimate light novel the world has ever seen. Nangong Yan smiled at her enthusiasm. You're certainly confident, Yamada Fairy-sensei. She added, with a touch of annoyance, but Eromanga-sensei still hasn't replied to me. How is that fair? She launched into a full-blown rant. Seriously, all light novel writers besides me are basically trash these days. The stories I'm writing will open a whole new world. I'm practically the savior of the entire light novel industry. No. I'm just a light novel author. Nangong Yan covered his face. Where did all these narcissistic ramblings come from? Then what about Kasumi Shiko and Senjumura-sei? The goblin suddenly felt like she'd been hit by a double whammy. For someone who worshipped sales figures, badmouthing those two was a bad move. Senjumura-sei's sales were several times higher than hers. And even though Kasumi Shiko wrote in a different genre, her sales were comparable to her own. Plus, her erotic style sells better than most normal novels, so yeah, calling them trash was a bit much. A bit of a cell phone, really. The goblin awkwardly changed the subject. So, is there anything else you wanted? Not really. You need anything? I'll do my best to help. Then help me meet Eromanga-sensei. The goblin seized the opportunity. Nangong Yan. Anyway, what are you having for dinner? Wanna come over to my place? The goblin's eyebrows shot up. You're inviting a girl you just met to your house. Nangong Yan just smiled. So, is that a yes? I've laid out all the hints for you. If you still can't figure it out, don't blame me. The goblin paused, a nagging feeling she'd missed something. Her brain whirred into action. Confirmed, he's Nangong-sensei. He mentioned Kashiwagi Miles and Eromanga-sensei, so they're definitely close. He also mentioned Kasumi Shiko and Senjumura-sei. Senjumura-say is a maybe, but Kasumi Shiko is definitely part of that rumored Nangong society, right? Which means Eromanga-sensei could be too. She glanced up at Nangong Yan's knowing smile, a realization dawning on her. Wait a minute, it's totally possible. How many talented people has this guy gathered around him? Time to find out the truth. What if I actually meet Eromanga-sensei? With newfound resolve, the goblin asked another question. Does that legendary club of yours really exist? As expected, the goblin was catching on. Nangong Yan replied without hesitation. Sure does. All right. Give me a minute. I'm coming over right now. The goblin decisively straightened her clothes, closed her door, and prepared to follow Nangong Yan home. Nangong Yan. He hadn't expected her to be so eager, but it didn't really change anything. She was bound to find out sooner or later. Let's go then. I'm back. And we have a guest. The goblin was practically buzzing with anticipation. He definitely had someone at home. Could it be Eromanga-sensei? Everyone came out to greet them. Sajiri wasn't there. She and Kamino Megumi were holed up in a room, busy with something. Yen-kun, who is this? Kato Megumi asked. Another cute girl. Everyone else had the same thought. Even the goblin was taken aback. How many girls lived here? It was time for introductions. Nangong Yan gestured towards the goblin. Everyone, this is our new neighbor, best-selling light novel author Yamada Goblin-sensei, oh no, except for the goblin and Mashiro, everyone else was thinking the same thing. Nangong Yan had yet another cute girl in his orbit. They all knew he was recruiting for his little squad, and this Yamada-sensei seemed like a prime candidate. Chapter 94. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The goblin gave a slight bow, skipping the whole formal introduction thing. Nangong Yan jumped right in, introducing his crew. On my team, we have scripting, Kasumi Shiko, Shiyu said with a nod. Character design and original art, Kashiwagi Miles. Aries I twitched, but she decided to let Nangong Yan have this one. Hey there, Yamada Fairy-sensei, I'm Sawamura Spencer Aerie. The fairy glanced sideways. She hadn't realized Kashiwagi Miles was such a knockout, and she felt like they had something in common. Same as her, Shina Mashiro-sensei. Mashiro's attention was laser-focused on the goblin. Whoa. The goblin was thrown for a loop. Shina Mashiro. This was a major league talent. Goblin. Mashiro tilted her head. Yeah, so cute. Shina Mashiro-sensei. The goblin was a bit lost. Was she saying the goblin was cute? Because, yeah, she knew she was cute. Yamada-sensei, Mashiro just means what she says, nothing more to it, Nanami quickly explained. Oh, and I'm Nanami Aoyama. I'm nowhere near as amazing as these guys, so don't get any ideas, Yamada-sensei. Nangong Yan picked up the thread. Yamada-sensei. Who the heck is Mr. Yamada? And since when is my name Yamada? Just call me Goblin, she said. No need to give out the real name just yet. Right, Goblin. Mashiro spends all day painting, so she's a little clueless, but she's actually a lot better than she used to be. Got it. The goblin turned to Mashiro. You're pretty cute yourself, Mashiro. Goblin, wait for me. Mashiro suddenly spun around and darted back inside. The goblin looked at Nangong Yan, confused. She didn't know what was going on. Nangong Yan grinned. She's probably getting you a gift. Looks like Mashiro's taken a shine to you. And Nanami Aoyama, who was just talking, she's not really part of the same setup as the rest of us, so you'll have to judge for yourself how awesome she is. Nangong Yan, ignoring Chihai's embarrassed look, made sure to introduce her to the goblin. Oh man, Flame Lord. Gotta get to voice acting school. Chihai looked panicked, rushed back inside, grabbed her backpack, and waved goodbye. Nangong Yan shrugged at her flustered exit. Get it? He asked the goblin. Voice actor, huh? The goblin raised an eyebrow. Didn't expect your team to be so well-rounded. Nangong Yan took it as a compliment and introduced the last member. This is our chief of staff and my assistant, Kato Megumi. She handles the script. Lots of titles, but none of them really mean anything, Megumi muttered under her breath. Nangong Yan clapped her on the shoulder. Don't say that. Megumi, you're totally essential. And from now on, you're our saleswoman. Wow, just got roped into a random job, Shiyu commented, amused. Yen, what's a saleswoman? We're not opening a store. Nangong Yan chuckled. Megumi could totally cosplay any of our characters. Erori's face darkened. What a great way to get yourself noticed. Seriously. Megumi was speechless. Yen, I'm not complimenting you here. Are we just going to leave our guests standing here? The goblin's eyebrows shot up. Sorry, goblin, we tend to jump from topic to topic, Megumi apologized for Nangong Yan. Hey, as a creator, you're bound to get hit with ideas that are way better for your work, the goblin said understandingly. Nangong Yan gave her a thumbs up. Exactly. Of course. Alright, introductions are done, let's not block the entrance. Nangong Yan ushered everyone into the living room. Mashiro came back, holding an unopened bonkachin cake. She shoved it into the goblin's hand. Here, for you. Nangong Yan looked surprised. Wow, Mashiro really likes you. She's giving you her favorite cake. Thanks, Mashiro. Let's share. The goblin, after hearing Nangong Yan's comment, broke the bonkachin in half. Okay, let's eat together. The goblin looked around at everyone, a thought striking her. What a young team. Wait, something's not right. Where's Eromanga-sensei? The goblin asked, finally remembering her purpose. She's probably chatting with her classmates in her room, maybe. In her room? The goblin realized something. Eromanga-sensei is family. Yeah. Seriously. You're dropping that bombshell now? Though, it kind of makes sense. Actually, it explains a lot. After getting her excitement under control, the goblin quickly finished her piece of cake. Seeing her new friend eating so fast, Mashiro unconsciously sped up her own pace, making Megumi and Shiyu smile. So, tell me everything. Who is this Eromanga-sensei? The goblin stood up, hands on the table, staring intently at Nangong Yan. Nangong Yan didn't bother trying to play it cool. She's my sister, though not by blood. The goblin sat back down, looking at Nangong Yan with a knowing smile. So, you're the protagonist of the novel, wait, she figured it out. Star. Sister, plus all these beautiful girls, and now a cute neighbor. So that's it, that the goblin turned to the girls. Anyone a girl who sits at the same table, Megumi. School idol, Shiyu. Cute underclassman, Not really. Kamino K doesn't count, right, Star? Childhood friend, Erori. We've known each other for years, haven't we? You have all the tropes, you're totally the protagonist of a novel. Even if you only draw comics. After saying that, the goblin complained, how is that even possible, the girls? The goblin felt a little uneasy seeing their faces. Did this guy really hit every mark? He knows a lot, comics, screenplays, scripts, voice acting. You name it, Mashiro said, making everything click for the others. That's why they were making those faces. Nangong Yan gave her a strange look, because he was actually right. Chapter 95. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The goblin opened her mouth, trying to speak, but nothing came out. So, lewd. I mean, with that many skills, it's no wonder she attracts so many hot babes, Nangong Yan broke the silence. Hey, I'll go ask Sajari if she wants to meet you. By the way, Sajari is teacher Aramanga's pen name, but she's super shy around strangers. So, just a heads up, even if she does agree to meet you, don't come on too strong, okay? Megumi Kato offered, I'll grab us some drinks. Sajari. Nangong Yan knocked softly, and the door cracked open. Just as he suspected, Kamino Megumi was striking a pose while Sajari sketched away. But this time, everything seemed normal. Sajari wasn't freaking out like before. Big brother? Sajari looked puzzled. What's up? You've got a super fan here. Wanna meet them? No way. Sajari scrunched up her face. I can't handle that. Super fan? Kamino Megumi was confused. Since when did Sajari-chan get fans? Then, why does Sajari-chan even have fans? Nangong Yan explained to Kamino Megumi, Sajari's art. Is it really that surprising someone likes her drawings? Other people know about Sajari-chan's drawings. It must be because of the internet. Megumi Kamino, being a super sophisticated student, wasn't all that into the internet. She thought, chatting with friends online is so boring, but she nodded anyway, to show she understood. Sajari, seriously, think about it. A ready-made model. Nangong Yan's words piqued her interest. A pretty girl? Yep, a blonde loli-type girl. Fine, but that's it. Sajari's expression started to get a little creepy. Megumi Kamino shivered and silently pitied the poor, unsuspecting fan. Nangong Yan grinned. So, should I tell her? If she agrees to model, you'll meet her. Okay, fine, brother. I'm a grown-up now. No need to cover your eyes this time. Sajari said confidently. Megumi Kamino felt a little annoyed again. What the heck was that blindfold thing about, anyway? That's so unfair, Sajari-chan. Why did I have to be blindfolded, but other people don't? Sajari was a little flustered. She tapped her thumbs together nervously and said tentatively, because, you're special. Nangong Yan was stunned. Wait, that actually worked. I'm special. Kamino Megumi seemed genuinely pleased. Nangong Yan. Her thought process was on another level. Nangong Yan went downstairs to find Yang Jing sprawled out on the couch, with the goblin trying to cozy up to him. How's it going? Not hitting it off with Yang. Nangong Yan plopped down, and the little goblin immediately jumped into his lap. Goblin. Twirling a strand of hair around her finger, the goblin changed the subject. So, did teacher Aramanga agree to see me? Nangong Yan held up a finger, smirking. On one condition, she will. The setup felt familiar to everyone, and Inglili looked at the goblin with pity, but Iriri was jumping to conclusions. This fairy would show her but to Sajari if she could. It would be weird if she was embarrassed. What condition? Be a model. Oh. The goblin grinned. That's exactly what I wanted. I get to be teacher Aramanga's model. Inglili. Something's off here. This isn't how the script should go, right? Does she not know what Sajari's models look like? I mean, now that she knows Sajari's pen name, she should get it, right? Inglili was starting to doubt reality. Awesome, and we have a model right here. Nangong Yan scooped up the little goblin from his lap and dragged her to Sajari's room. Sawamura-san, what's wrong? Shiyu asked, noticing Yinglili's sour expression. Why is she so excited to be Sajari's model? I want to do it too, Mashiro declared, not wanting to be left out. Shiyu gave Inglili a meaningful look. See? There's another one. Inglili nodded slowly. She must just have no sense of shame. Like Mashiro, she probably doesn't care if she's naked. Shiyu. Is that really it? Sounds a little weird. Kato Megumi looked helpless. Iriri, is it really okay to talk about Mashiro like that? Iriri countered, but Megumi, have you forgotten what it was like when Mashiro first arrived? Iriri's reminder brought back a vivid, almost shocking, memory for Megumi. Megumi seemed speechless. Maybe, she just doesn't care that much. Mashiro offered his opinion. For drawing, you need to understand it in detail. That makes sense, but how is that relevant? Nangong Yan came back at that moment and, noticing Yinglali's bewildered face, asked, "What's going on?" "Iriri can't understand why the goblin is so eager to be Sajiri's model," Mashiro answered. Nangong Yan was slightly surprised. Mashiro was starting to talk more. Looking at Iriri, Nangong Yan said, "You know her pen name, right? So why is it still so weird?" Nangong Yan asked suspiciously, "Is it possible that you haven't read her works?" "How could I not have seen them? Her novels are an important source of material for me." "Ah." Lily finally understood. "I get it. For her, being naked is justice." "That's right. I bet she'd be shy if she knew Sajiri's true intentions, but she would still be strong enough to handle it." Nangong Yan sat down seriously. "I want to invite her to join us. What do you think?" "I agree," Mashiro said. He had a good impression of fairies. "But, Yanjun, will she even join?" Kato K asked. Since she didn't know the goblin well, Iriri chimed in for Nangong Yan, "It shouldn't be a problem. Just look at her reaction to Sajiri. Shiyu, with her own agenda, wanted to push harder. Well, Yanjun, her writing style seems different from ours." "No problem. We can't always have the same style, right? We need to branch out in all directions." Shiyu. "Well, I don't have a problem with that, either. It's useless to argue. Yanjun always finds a reasonable excuse." "That's it, then. Let's have her over for dinner tonight, and I'll ask her then." Nangong Yan decided. "We'll show her our work. I'm sure she'll be drawn in with her eye of God." He was getting excited. He was on a roll. "Isn't this great? The girls. What the heck is the eye of God?" Chapter 96. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lily raised her hand. "Hey, Yen, what's this eye of God thing?" "Oh, that's just her fancy, self-proclaimed title. Basically, she claims she can instantly understand the heart of a writer just by reading their work." Everyone perked up. "Give us the details," Lily pressed. Nangong Yan elaborated. "Yeah, she claims just by reading someone's book, she knows exactly what kind of person they are. And get this, every single project she's ever given the thumbs up to has been turned into an anime. Wow, that's some serious insight. By the way, how do you know all this?" Shiyu eyed him suspiciously. "You figured out her entire deal in, what, 5 minutes? Nangong Yan hesitated for a split second. "I think I saw it mentioned on some webpage somewhere, but I can't really remember the specifics," Nangong Yan offered vaguely. He figured, knowing her personality, she probably brags about her abilities online. There's gotta be some info out there. "I just get the feeling you know a little too much about her." Shiyu muttered, but let it drop. "Alright, let's get back to work. The game's practically finished today." Yep, everyone else was done for the day. Nangong Yan just needed another half day to finish the music, then he could pass it on to his dad. The girls nodded, ready to chill after wrapping things up. 2 hours later, everything was buttoned up. Each task was completed in the first half hour, and the rest was just bug hunting. After Nangong Yan's final once-over, Kato Megumi fired up the game, sans music or voice acting, with everyone else watching over her shoulder. "It's actually happening. Our game is almost ready," Nangong Yan said, genuinely moved. "Not so fast. The voice acting and music aren't done yet." Lily countered. Seeing Lily's skepticism, Nangong Yan decided to keep quiet. He wasn't about to tell her he could knock out the music in half a day. He'd get roasted. Hopefully, the others from the different dimension could handle it when the time came. "Hey, Shiyu-senpai, happy with your script?" Nangong Yan asked Kasumigakaka Shiyu. Kasumigakaka Shiyu glanced at him. Ever met a writer who isn't satisfied with their own work? Nangong Yan nodded. A writer grading their own work probably gives it a solid 100, right? Why else would they write it if they weren't proud of it? 20 minutes later, Kato Megumi wrapped up her test run. So, Hui, what do you think? Nangong Yan asked, eager to hear her thoughts. Thoughts? Hui tilted her head, pondering. It would be better with music and voice acting. Nangong Yan. No kidding. Alright, I'll hit the recording studio after school tomorrow, Nangong Yan said, resigned. Everyone knew the story by heart. Looks like they'd just have to wait until the game was truly complete. At dinner, not only the fairy, Shiyu, but also Kamino Megumi was invited to join. Nangong Yan pitched the idea to Shiyu. She glanced at him, then at Sajiri, and finally around the table. Count me in, I guess. It's not like it'll interfere with my writing, Shiyu agreed surprisingly quickly. She had a point. Nangong Yan wasn't stopping Shiyu and Lily from working on their own stuff. They could still follow their own muses while working towards their shared goal, and if Shiyu didn't have the drive, she wouldn't be able to write anything. While Sajiri was the main reason she was agreeing, Nangong Yan was confident that there were other plans in place for her that could fill her with energy. Awesome. Our club's growing again. Nangong Yan grinned. Let's eat. Shiyu and Megumi watched the food disappearing before their eyes. Slightly stunned, Shiyu hesitantly picked up her chopsticks, snagged a piece of fried chicken, and popped it in her mouth. No way. She was shocked. It's actually better than mine. Not surprising, really. Raised according to her family's domestic goddess policy, she was pretty much an expert in all things traditionally feminine. She was practically a bride in training. Now, she had found a cook that was better than her. Refusing to admit defeat, she ignited her fighting spirit. Cooking. She would surpass him. This is amazing. This is the best food I've ever eaten. Megumi exclaimed, taking her first bite. Glad you like it. Dig in. There's plenty. Nangong Yan waved his hand, and everyone joined the food fight. After the meal, Kamino K headed home. Nangong Yan offered to walk her, but she bolted, probably a little shy. Nangong Yan shook his head, turned to Shiyu with a sly grin, and waved her over. Seeing Nangong Yan giving no explanation, Shiyu looked confused. Nangong Yan walked back to the activity room and noticed Shiyu wasn't following. He poked his head out. Come on. I've got a treasure to show you, the girls. He's totally doing that on purpose. Seeing that no one else was going to explain, Shiyu sighed and followed. She didn't believe it. With so many people around, what could he possibly be hiding? The second she walked in, she demanded, alright, let's see this treasure. Nangong Yan pulled a chair up to the computer and gestured for her to sit down. Shiyu took a step back, looking incredulous. Is it one of those adult-only things? You're trying to show me that? Nangong Yan was floored. Is that her first thought? He almost didn't say anything, his face a mask of bewilderment before finally exclaiming, are you crazy? Or am I crazy? Shiyu realized how that sounded, and quickly cleared her throat, pretending it never happened. So, what is it? It's our group project, all the members in different dimension. This is the reason why different dimension exists. Nangong Yan explained. I was going to use it as leverage if you weren't going to accept my invitation. Hearing this, Shiyu got more interested. I didn't think there would be some unexpected gains. Alright. Let me use my God's eye to appreciate it. Chapter 97. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 10 minutes later. Isn't this a freaking masterpiece? The goblin was practically buzzing with excitement, her cheeks flushed. Nangong Yan sighed. Hold your horses. This is just the intro. Even for Eye of God, you gotta actually read it before you go nuts. Ain't nobody got time for that. The goblin pouted. It has a real ending, right? Gimme the express lane to the finish line. What about the other storylines? Main plot first. You want me to beta test this thing, right? The goblin shot him a sidelong glance. So, direct's better. Nangong Yan was speechless. She had a point. Defeated, Nangong Yan caved and handed over the walkthrough. Pfft. A snicker came from behind. Nangong Yan turned to see Ari Spencer smiling. Well, look who's getting his feathers ruffled. Ari chuckled. Am I? Nangong Yan rubbed his chin. You guys just love to mess with me, huh? Who, me? No idea what you're talking about. Ari gave her best innocent act. Alright. Nangong Yan threw up his hands. Well, Ms. Artiste, give it a look-see when you get a chance. I'm dying to hear your thoughts. The goblin just waved him off dismissively. Nangong Yan just rolled his eyes. He glanced back to see Ari practically vibrating with suppressed laughter. Nangong Yan was baffled. Was his misery that entertaining? Walking out of the clubroom, Nangong Yan crouched down and started petting Yang, who just wandered over. You're the only one who won't laugh at me, right? He murmured to the cat. Meow. What's your problem? Why would I laugh at you? Yang cocked her head, clearly confused by his random grumbling. Never mind. He'd forgotten Yang could understand him. What a bonehead. Still, Yang's response cheered him up. Nangong Yan stretched out on the floor and scooped Yang up, placing her on his chest. Meow, it's cold down here. Yang whined, worried about her human. Nangong Yan smiled and gently pinched her paw. It's fine, just for a minute. Ari wandered over then, poking his arm with her finger. Hey, what's with the drama? It was just a little laugh. Don't be such a baby. You think too highly of me. Nangong Yan couldn't help but laugh. We've known each other for ages. You think I'd actually get worked up over a little teasing? Ari sighed in relief. Good. So, what do you think of the goblin? Ari asked casually. What do I think? Nangong Yan pondered. Genius, probably. Ari blinked. Coming from him, that word sounded almost ridiculous. Seriously? Nangong Yan shook his head. Of course. What do you think she was doing when I stopped by? How would I know? Ari threw her hands up. Well, I'll tell you. She was playing piano, and she was killing it. Ari looked surprised. A light novel author whose work was adapted into anime being a piano prodigy. Plus, Nangong Yan had mentioned her being unusually insightful. It all pointed to one conclusion. And she's got serious domestic goddess potential. Did you see the way she refused to back down after eating my cooking? Huh. Now that you mention it. Ari mused. Is it weird that she's probably an amazing cook? Not just cooking, right? Nangong Yan reminded her. Cooking, musical instruments, looks, temperament, the family background's probably amazing, too. Which means there's a high chance she's been training to be the perfect wife. Ari suddenly realized how right Nangong Yan was. Whoa, that's messed up. Ari muttered. That's completely different from what she shows. Is she actually some super wifey with a ton of skills under the surface? She's a serious threat. Nangong Yan waved his hand in front of her face. Ari. What are you mumbling about? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Ari squeaked, her face turning red. She thought, he didn't hear me, did he? White. Nangong Yan said suddenly. Ari's brain short-circuited. Ribbon. What ribbon? Huh. Understanding dawned on Ari. Thanks for the treatment. Ari, now bright red, clapped her hand over Nangong Yan's mouth. She hissed, you jerk, that she was obviously trying to avoid attracting attention, but she was so calm about it. Has Erri matured? Or. Then, Erri remembered she'd strolled up while he was sprawled on the floor. Did he know she was coming the whole time? Okay, look, okay. Erri said dangerously. Nangong Yan grinned and gave her a thumbs up. Even with her eyes covered, Erri must be blushing furiously. Erri was so angry her teeth itched, but there wasn't anything she could do. In a fit of pique, she started messing up Nangong Yan's hair. Yang, still nestled on Nangong Yan's chest, watched the two humans with a confused expression. She didn't know what they were doing, but she seemed to sense that she should be somewhere else. With dainty steps, the little kitty departed. A few moments later, Nangong Yan's hair was a mess. Not mad yet? Nangong Yan couldn't resist asking, feeling the breeze on his scalp. Hearing his words, Erri instinctively stopped and looked at his hair. She almost burst out laughing, but this time, she felt a lot better. After patting down her skirt, she said, "I'll let you off the hook this time." Then, she stood up, or at least, she tried to. There was no friction between her stockings and the slippers. She couldn't get her footing. Losing her balance, her slipper went flying off her foot, and her bare foot landed squarely on Nangong Yan's face. Erri panicked, and Nangong Yan was so startled he almost jumped out of his skin. In that split second, he thought, "Didn't you just say you'd let me off the hook? What did I do to deserve this?" Using the force redirecting principles of Tai Chi, he used both hands to guide her foot harmlessly to the side. The next thing Nangong Yan knew, everything went black. Chapter 98. You are listening at novelfull.audio. But a split second later, bam! Nangong Yan's nose exploded with pain. Lily finally realized where she'd landed. Her face cycled through a bunch of expressions before. Ah! She shrieked, face flaming red, and bolted out of there. Slippers be damned, leaving Nangong Yan staring after her. That's when it clicked for Nangong Yan. Lily had just sat on him. But it was way different than in the manga. Namely, she'd planted her but right on his nose. His nose throbbed, and Nangong Yan wanted to bawl. Actually, he was tearing up. The pain triggered a pretty normal physiological reaction, after all. This was supposed to be a lucky perv moment, but why my nose? I didn't even get a chance to enjoy it. He was bummed, plain and simple, mourning the missed opportunity. What the heck just happened? The others, drawn in by the sudden silence, were stunned. What they saw. Lord Yen sprawled on the floor, tears streaming down his face. With a bright red nose. And what was with Yinglali's frantic exit? And that scream. Could it be? Hamura-kun tried to get fresh with Sawamura-san. Sawamura-san refused, screamed, punched him in the face, and ran away mortified. Is that the scene playing out before us? Xia Jiqiu Shiyu's writer brain was off to the races again. Nangong Yan. The women. Seriously? No way, even with a wild imagination, what Senior Shiyu suggested is totally impossible, right? Kato Megumi deadpanned. So. Chihai gave Nangong Yan a weird look. What actually happened? Yeah, Flame Lord, spill. Kasumigakaka Shiyu crossed her arms, a mischievous glint in her eye. Sajiri, looking gloomy, muttered resentfully, Big bro only needs Sajiri. Big bro only needs Sajiri. Nangong Yan just rolled his eyes. Lay off the crazy theories. If I actually wanted to do something, you think she'd get away? The women. Okay, fair point. Shiyu-senpai, you know that's not even remotely plausible, right? Why even say it? Nangong Yan asked, bewildered. Shiryu smiled brightly. Hey, a writer's gotta flex their brain muscles when faced with interesting situations. How else am I gonna churn out compelling stories? So, I, Nangong Yan, am just grist for your writing mill now. He wanted to argue, but knowing Shiryu's history of imaginative leaps, he decided to let it go. It wasn't the first time, and it wouldn't be the last. What's going on? Why all the racket? The goblin stomped in, looking annoyed. Shiyu smiled sweetly. Who knows? We're waiting for Lord Yan's explanation. Seeing all eyes on him, Nangong Yan scratched his head and turned to the goblin. What do you think? Obviously, it's material for a true masterpiece. Let me tell you. The goblin was all set to launch into a spiel but suddenly caught herself. You better tell it. Fine, fine. Nangong Yan threw his hands up. All I can say is, due to an unfortunate accident, Ing Lily, who was unstable, delivered a pretty forceful impact to my nose. That's the gist of it. That's it? Shiyu scoffed. What kind of explanation is that? We want the juicy details, that the girls nodded in unison, backing Kasumigakaka Shiyu. It was just an accident. If you don't believe me, ask Wenyang or Ing Lily, that earned him a chorus of deadpan stares. Ask Ing Lily. Who but Nangong Yan could decipher Xiao Yang's babble? Nangong Yan wasn't lying. It was an unfortunate accident, but nobody bought it. Then why are you lying on the ground? Shiyu pressed. Don't tell me you were knocked out. You're not Chihai. Chihai looked baffled. What did she have to do with anything? Yeah, why are you lying down? After the goblin kicked me out, I've been lying here till you came. Nangong Yan said firmly, seeing his earnest expression. Sure, you suddenly pounced. What were you doing lying here doing nothing? Peeping up a skirt. Seriously, is classmate Shiyu psychic? How does she always know? Besides, it wasn't on purpose. Lay off, I wanted to get close to her, and I lay down so she was on my chest. Nangong Yan explained with some embarrassment, but his moment of strangeness was still noticed by Kasumigakaka Shiyu and Kato Megumi. So, you saw something when you were lying down, right? Shiyu pressed. Then Sawamura-san saw you. She screamed, stepped on your nose, dropped a shoe and ran away shyly. Okay, you saw it, didn't you? Even though she didn't actually step on it, Nangong Yan decided to cut his losses. If she kept dissecting it, the whole scene would play out again. You know everything, so why even ask? Heh. The goblin smirked. So, does this count as a lucky pervert moment? Doesn't it? Nangong Yan pointed to his nose. Take a look and you tell me. Pfft. The girls couldn't contain themselves anymore. This was too much. Megumi silently stepped forward, picked up the shoe I really had left behind, and announced to everyone, I'll return Irili's shoe first. Kato Megumi returned to the three of their room, and Irili lay on her stomach and buried her face on pillow. Ing Lily, I brought the shoes back for you. Yingolai's voice was a little muffled because she buried her face. Well, thank you, Hui. Kato Megumi was a little confused about Iriri's reaction. Why didn't Iriri raise her head? Are you still shy? But, just because of what happened just now, will she be shy for so long? Kato Megumi knows very well that here in Nangong's house, for the time being, all the girls accept the fairies like Nangong Yan, since they like it. After what happened just now, although they are shy, they shouldn't care about it for so long, right? Unless there is something what he doesn't know, could it be that Yanjun is hiding something? The famous detective Kato Megumi peeled off the cocoons and discovered some important clues about the case. Chapter 99. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ing Lily, Yanjun already told you what happened. Ing Lily froze. Did Yan really spill the beans about that embarrassing stuff? Yanjun tried to play it off as an accident, but Shiyu figured out he peeked up your skirt, and then you stomped on his nose. He even admitted it. Iriri breathed a sigh of relief. At least the really shameful part was still secret. But what was Kasumigakaka Shiyu trying to pull, knowing all this? Was she just trying to mess with her head? And Hamura's nose? Was it actually hurt? But I think Yanjun's holding back something, right, Iriri? Hui stared her down, and Ing Lily fidgeted, just like she suspected. Come on, Hui, I don't think he is. Iriri's voice shook. Kato Megumi reached out and gently put her hand on Iriri's leg. Whoa! Lily, already a bundle of nerves, jumped, her voice and body trembling. Iriri, look up. If you're really not hiding anything, look me in the eye. Trapped, Iriri finally slowly raised her head, revealing her flushed, mortified face. Your face is bright red. Something's definitely up, Kato Megumi said flatly. Iriri felt totally cornered. She scratched her cheek and mumbled, it's just, the pillow's stuffy, or I'm getting a fever, maybe, that why ask if you already know. Kato Megumi just kept staring, silent. Iriri. Fine. Okay. I'll tell you. Iriri blurted out in defeat. Kato Megumi finally smiled, surprising Iriri. Alright, I'm listening. Start from the beginning. Iriri began. He took the fairy to the activity room first, and I followed him, remember? While the fairy was watching our game, I noticed Hamura looked irritated, so I gave him the boot. Lily couldn't help but grin a little at that. He hardly ever gets that worked up, so I thought it was kinda funny. When I went to stand up, my legs had gone numb from squatting for so long, and I just couldn't get my balance. Now Iriri's face was flushing again. Kato Megumi figured out where the story was heading. I lost my balance and stepped on Hamura's face, but he blocked me. He probably didn't react fast enough, 'cause even after he blocked me, I still didn't stop, and then. Yinglali's face twisted with embarrassment, but she forced herself to spit it out. I ended up sitting on his face. Whoosh! Lily buried her face again. Kato Megumi's eyes widened. It wasn't exactly what Shiyu had guessed, but the real story was even wilder. Yanjun's nose was sat on. Sitting. On. His. Face. Kato Megumi looked at the ostrich-like Iriri, speechless. No wonder she was so shy. After all, that part of her was touched by Yanjun, though, probably he didn't have time to feel anything, right? Thinking of Nangong Yan crying from the pain in his nose, Kato Megumi couldn't help the corner of her mouth from turning up. Iriri, when we found Hamura, he was crying. He said his nose was killing him. Hearing that, Lily immediately sat up. Seriously? That guy Yen couldn't have felt anything, could he? Relief washed over Lily, followed by a touch of disappointment. She felt a little bad about it. This was a weird feeling. If he felt something, Lily would be mortified. If he didn't feel anything, this contact was the first time for the two of them after all. To Nangong Iri, who was fond of Yen, seemed to hope that he can feel something. The complex psychology of her daughter's family is revealed for a while. Outside the room, Kasumigakaka Shiyu leaned quietly against the wall. So that's what happened. She wasn't jealous or anything. Nope, not at all. It's just that if she'd sat on Yenkuen's face, she wouldn't have gotten up so easily, much less run away. She totally wasn't jealous. Seriously, yeah, right. She was burning with envy. If it was him, Shiyu couldn't help but wonder, would that be a good thing? Speaking of which, Shiyu-san, your delusions are too much, right? Is that place a corridor? Thank goodness Sawamura-san is so shy, otherwise, she'd already be making her move. Shiyu sounded relieved. But Megumi is seriously impressive. If I hadn't gotten worried about her being gone so long. Kasumigakaka Shiyu had just bumped Kato Megumi up several notches on the threat scale. Kato Megumi, Sawamura-san, Nanami, Mashiro, Sister Chan, and the new fairies, there are too many rivals. She sighed inwardly, then rallied, but come on, Shiyu. You can't give up. Nangong Yan was in the bathroom, checking his nose in the mirror to see if it was still in one piece. Well, it's not too bad. As long as my nose isn't flat, I'm good. Nangong Yan nodded with satisfaction. Leaving the bathroom, Nangong Yan came into the living room and smiled at the fairy, who was chatting with Shiyu about your name. So, you having second thoughts about joining? No way. I would have joined anyway, but your name was an even bigger surprise. The fairy said enthusiastically. She'd always been like this with good stories. But still. It was so unexpected. The fairy gave him a look that said, I've got you figured out now. And she really did feel that way. The guy in front of her, barely older than herself, had already made a name for himself in the manga industry, moved her with his work, and now she was actually on his team. Today was definitely a good day. It won't be the last time. There'll be more and more people from different dimensions. Nangong Yan had no doubt about that. This world kept throwing him curveballs. Even if only these worlds are integrated, aren't there still many talents that can be invited? For example, the expedition to Qianshou village and the expedition to Bo Island, or even future Akurs. Chapter 100. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day after school, Nangong Yan was heading to the recording studio to work on the game's music. He'd planned to go solo, but the girls, now free from their mission, wanted to tag along. He couldn't exactly say no, could he? So, the whole crew piled into the studio. It was the same setup as last time. The studio owner, without asking if they needed any guidance, just took their money and left them to their own devices. Nangong Yan figured he needed a drum set, and, yeah, that sounded about right. Thanks to his LV9 musical instrument skills and the body control of LV9 Tai Chi, he was drumming away in no time, becoming more and more proficient under the girls' astonished gazes. He glanced at his skill panel, drum set LV4, and kept pounding those sticks. As he jammed, he steadily boosted his skill level to LV9. The girls were completely speechless, eyes glazed over, watching his transformation. Next up was the electronic keyboard. Nangong Yan was confident. With his piano skills and all those bonuses, he was sure to kill it. After a quick practice session, the electronic keyboard skill jumped straight to LV7. He conveniently added a couple more points. Now, all the instruments needed for the game's music were at LV9. At this point, Nangong Yan's stats looked something like this. Character name, Nangong Yan. Level, 61, 398530/3600000. Skill points, too many to list, a whopping 47 skills. I'm starting to believe our game is actually going to be released soon because you're such a freak. Erori complained. Yen already has a rough draft, right? Sure, you asked, already convinced that was probably the case. Nangong Yan nodded. His head was swimming with ideas. Then let's get this show on the road. I can't wait any longer. Chihai said, practically bouncing with anticipation. Nangong Yan shook his head. Don't get your hopes up just yet. It's just me, one guy. Each instrument has to be recorded separately and then mixed together to create the final track. Some of the music won't make sense when you hear individual instrument parts. They need to complement each other to sound good. The girls nodded, understanding. But that didn't dampen their enthusiasm. Seeing their expectant faces, Nangong Yan shrugged. Alright, let's do this. 40 minutes later, he finished composing the melody from his past life. Unable to resist their nagging, Nangong Yan played it again. This time, previous and past lives was the complete version, and the girls were totally hooked. The rest was just background music, which could be inserted to match the game's progress. That stuff was easy, and a lot of it didn't even require multiple instruments. A piano would do the trick. So, an hour and a half later. Alright. The music for our game is officially done. Nangong Yan stretched and cracked his back. The girls were stunned, even Mashiro's eyes twitched. Was that too fast? Was he really that fast? Nangong Yan explained that everything was already in his head. That's how it's so quick. Even if he didn't have the perfect background music, he could find something similar and, if necessary, tweak it with his LV9 arrangement skills. Boom. Instant fit. Why are you all staring at me like that? Nangong Yan felt a little uneasy. It's like you're looking at a god. A house god. Mashiro casually dropped the bomb. What the heck is a house god? Nangong Yan was speechless. Whatever, let's go. Time to go back and configure the game's audio. Wait. Erori seemed to remember something. Aren't we going to make an opening animation? That was a good point. But Nangong Yan was a little embarrassed. He scratched his head. I was thinking, like in an anime movie. We can just put the song in the credits. Because, if I try to create an OP animation, I feel like it'll turn into a straight-up dating sim. Okay. Except for Megumi, Mashiro, and Nanami, who didn't quite get it, Shiyu and Erori understood his concerns and imagined the scene. Tachibana Taki appears, then meets all the female characters, gets to know them, falls in love. What the heck? Disaster. If that actually happened, it would be a travesty of your name. But just adding Mitsuha Mayamizu and Tachibana Taki in the OP wouldn't work, since their looks didn't match their appearance in the game. The names wouldn't seem to fit, so, Nangong Yan's suggestion got the green light. After getting home, the group had dinner. Then, Nangong Yan started inserting the music into the game, guiding Kato K along the way. The others were basically just hanging around, but they were all there. Why? If they weren't there, it would just be Kato Megumi and Nangong Yan alone. Forget about the others. Shiyu and Erori wouldn't miss such a chance to stir things up for anything. Oh, and the goblin classmate was there too. Not willing to give up, she'd personally made some food and brought it over that day. Everyone raved about it, but after the goblin tasted it herself, she realized she was still no match for Nangong Yan. As a result, the goblin channeled her frustration into hunger and devoured the dishes like there was no tomorrow. It seemed she still had to keep trying to make food that could defeat Nangong Yan. Okay. Finished. Seeing the expectant looks in the girl's eyes, Nangong Yan pulled out his phone and dialed. Hello. What's up, you little punk? He'd heard that greeting a million times, but Nangong Yan still cringed. Oh well, he needed something from him this time, so he'd hold his tongue. Nangong Yan cut to the chase. It's about what we talked about last time. The game's all done on my end. All I need are voice actors. Send it over first. I need to see the quality before I can decide what level of voice actors to hire. You're playing your cards way too close to your chest, you know, even Shizuka didn't tell me. Nangong Zhao's voice was a little annoyed. How do I send it to you? Nangong Yan asked. Nangong Zhao pondered for a moment. Just to be safe, send it to Jingxiang's private mailbox. Nangong Yan raised an eyebrow. Was he afraid of leaks? It seemed his father was taking this game pretty seriously. Okay, I'll upload it now. Oh, and, Nangong Zhao added. Let me just double-check, you're absolutely sure you don't need voice actors for the male and female protagonists, so that's what this was about. Nangong Yan replied without hesitation, I'm sure, totally sure. Nangong Zhao. Okay, whatever. Send it over already. Let's see if this masterpiece of Nangong society, that's supposed to shake up the industry, is actually worth their time. Nangong Yan smirked and said confidently, just watch and see. After that, both of them hung up, *bang, *Nangong Yan tapped the screen, and the file was sent.